For the end of 2018, I've decided to use a fitting symbol of death, which, for those of us in the know, means transformation, not a final end. The Santa Muerte tarot gives us glimpses of death and rejuvenation in every card, in one way or another. And so it seems appropriate for our purposes today. What has 2018 been to you? Well, we can look at this as a spread depicting our relationship with the year and ourselves within that year. And since we focus on transformation of the self on this channel, we will take it that way. We start with the Knight of Cups, riding clearly with direction through a gateway, through an arch. Perhaps 2018 has brought us into closer, through doorways of ourselves, into closer communication with and clearer understandings of ourselves. We want to keep going in that direction. We also see a not so happy looking card, the Four of Cups. Now this card, I have to admit, always freaks me out a little bit because I really don't like centipedes. But the centipede, for me in this card, seems fitting. Fours in tarot, for me, represent comfort, stability, but with those things comes a certain stasis, a certain willingness to settle for our comfort. And oftentimes, maybe you've found this true as well, we'll stay in a situation not because it itself feels comfortable, but because we find ourselves comfortable in it. We find ourselves familiar with it. And so even if getting out of it or moving forward and away from it would prove beneficial and advantageous, we sit there like this unhappy fellow. He doesn't look content. In fact, he's spilled some of himself, including his heart. And he just sits there looking at it, dejected, depressed, not knowing what to do. Sometimes, having taken the steps of the Knight in the previous card, we find ourselves uncomfortable with what we face. When we go through that portal into unknown parts of self, sometimes what we find can disturb us, depress us, and it can hurt. Fortunately, we have the pentacles, or the pentagrams as I prefer, and I would guess, and this has been very true for me this year, so I can't remove myself from these readings, although I try to make them applicable for those listening. Pentagrams, or pentacles, refer to our creative well, the wands actually refer more to creativity, but the pentacles have, in my opinion, some similar meanings and refer to our relationship with our environment. And of course, if we want to work with that environment and change it to suit us better, then we do need creativity. Now, twos for me have always meant gestation. And in this, we find an interesting depiction. I love working with tarot because I usually find something that I might not have seen before, or some other interpretation that I may not have thought of before. In this rendition, the Santa Muerte Two of Pentacles, as they've named it, I've always been drawn to the butterflies. Now think of this as yourself, not necessarily you looking at another person, but having come through the portal to look more closely at yourself, having not been real thrilled with what you came across at first, and now facing yourself and saying, I have some things in my internal environment and some things in my external environment, and I'd like them to work together, and I'd like to improve them both. We've got you with half the butterfly and you with the other half, and it's emerged from a chrysalis. Before this, you were an egg, and here you were a caterpillar, or a really ugly, unpleasant, scary creature like this centipede. But now you've realized your potential. 2018 has had some moments, all years do. Let this one have been the one that will not only allow you to transform, but prompt you to do so. Before the end, or shortly after the beginning of tomorrow, make some time. If you haven't quite come out of this cocoon yet, make some time to figure out what needs to happen so that you can do so that you can transform yourself internally, and let that cause a ripple effect that will change things on the outside, create a feedback loop between yourself and your surroundings so that you can engage in this regularly and with less effort going forward, learning from what you've already done in this journey, this part of your journey of self-transformation. Until next time,